Hello there, small children. It is I, cousin of Science Carl, History Carl. And today I'll be teaching you a lesson on the Northwest Rebellion. So hold on to your seat, because you're probably going to fall asleep and slide off of it. The Northwest Rebellion took place in what we know today as Saskatchewan and Alberta. It was fought against the Canadian government by the Métis and the Aboriginal people. The rebellion was caused by both the Aboriginal and the Métis having their livelihood taken away and losing bison in some way by the settlers and the Hudson Bay Company. There was almost no hope of the situation improving until Louis Riel, the Red River Resistance leader, came back to Canada from exile to the USA. Louis Riel started a petition and urged all Métis and non-Métis settlers to sign it. And on March 18, 1885, they passed a 10-point Revolutionary Bill of Rights. The main point of it was asserting the rights of Métis possession of the farmland and a bunch of boring stuff and words and things. The Canadian government obviously weren't going to agree to these demands so easily since they really like boring stuff and words and things. So a rebellion was necessary. As everyone knows, violence always solves everything. Take a look at World War I, World War II, and the Cold War. All always ended with many positive things. Riel became the president, and tactician Gabriel Dumont became the military commander. I'm kind of confused because look, he can't even hold his gun correctly and has an extremely scraggly beard. Never trust a man with a scraggly beard. In preparation for the inevitable oncoming attacks, the Métis occupied the village Duck Lake between Batoche and Fort Carlson. I mean Carleton. On March 26, it's one day before my birthday. Great. A group of around 100 Northwest Mounted Police and volunteers marched to Duck Lake under Superintendent Leif Crozier. I think I pronounced that right, but I don't know. A large force of Métis and Aboriginal rebels met them on the Carleton Trail outside the village. The negotiations ended in confusion, and the Mounties and volunteers fired at the enemy hidden in a cabin. The battle ended swiftly, with the Mounties and volunteers retreating. There were considerable deaths on both sides, and the Mounties ended up abandoning Fort Carleton. The government reacted to everything very quickly and sent over 5,000 troops across Canada to fight the rebels under Major General Frederick Middleton. Woohoo! Go Middleton! What are you looking at? Man, I sure do love the government and General Middleton. I hope they win. Sponsored by the Canadian Tourist Association. More than just a place for maple syrup. The rebel victory at Duck Lake inspired a large chunk of Cree to attack Battleford. The Cree were then joined up by Assiniboine, not how you pronounce it, but I don't care, at Battleford. General Middleton decided to march around 900 men to Batoche through the South Saskatchewan River, and split his group over both sides of the river. The Métis set up an ambush for one side of them. Middleton's scouts were all taken out, which resulted in a firefight with the main force of that half of the river. Because Middleton's troops were isolated, the Métis had an upper hand. By the time the other half of the force crossed the river, it was already too late. Having taken too much damage, Middleton retreated. Shortly afterward, Colonel Otter, clearly a true Canadian hero, moved from Battleford with 300 men, but was easily pushed back by the Cree and Assiniboine forces. Because of Colonel Otter's failure, Middleton had to wait 2 weeks to receive reinforcements to continue the march toward Batoche. Eventually, Middleton reached Batoche. For the entire day, he attempted many different attacks in order to break the strong defenses, but to no avail. Middleton ended up setting up a fortified camp so that he could try again the next day. The next 2 days were mostly similar to the first, with no real headway made. In the afternoon of the fourth day, without any orders, two rash colonels led a militia charge against the defenses. The rebels, having been slowly chipped away for the past 3 days, crumbled against the charge. Riel surrendered to Middleton while Dumont fled. See, this is why I don't trust people that look like hobos. This marked the end of the attempted rebellion, with most of the Aboriginal chiefs also having been killed or captured. It became prosecution time. Riel was sentenced to be hanged on September 18th, and even with many postponements, he was hanged on November 16th. So in the end, the moral of the story is obey the government.
My friends, you are free. You are free to respect and appreciate the authority of the government that God gives to you. Honor the King. Amen.
It was fought against the Canadian government by the Métis and the Aboriginal people. The rebellion was caused by both the Aboriginal and the Métis having their livelihood taken away and losing bison.